Welcome. This video is a short video to cover my book on rebreathing and my research that followed. I'll try to trim it down with the most relevant parts to you, such as Alzheimer's, up front. Hi, my name is Barry Stanley and I am a student of science. While some people read novels and watch movies, I tend to read up on science, on the great discoveries of the past, and I'm engrossed by the possible solutions that are being worked on right now and into the near future. So the ideas I wish to share with you here are more physiological, biological, and as such may need further study by the medical profession, as they hold very high standards. At least I would hope they would consider some of my ideas worthy of further research. So hope you hang out with me for a bit and possibly share your own thoughts. First up, what is rebreathing? I trust most of you know, so I'll be brief. We all are rebreathing right now. Some of the exhaled air only gets out as far as our mouth and then is redrawn. This is rebreathing. Usually enough new fresh air is drawn in and our lungs maintain a healthy and comfortable balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. However, if ever the supply of new fresh air is compromised in any way, then oxygen in our lungs can become depleted. And it is this depleted oxygen that may lead to hypoxia and possible interference with brain development and brain health. So how can rebreathing lead to Alzheimer's? Simply, individuals suffer depleted rebreathing when they sleep with their heads and breathing underneath the covers. When they pull the covers over their heads, they create a microenvironment within which, over the hours of sleeping, oxygen can become depleted and mild hypoxia can occur. Now, the theory here is that a lifetime of this behavior may lead to Alzheimer's. To research this, I completed a survey comparing different levels of covering the head while sleeping to different stages of Alzheimer's from lucid to stage 4. The sample size was just over 500 submissions. And the results were that there was a progression demonstrating that the more individuals covered their breathing while sleeping, the more they suffered Alzheimer's. More importantly, comparing groups that do to those that do not practice head covering while sleeping, it showed that about 13% of all Alzheimer's cases were directly caused by this practice. Now, this is significant. Does this mean that if everyone stopped this sleeping practice, Alzheimer's would be reduced by 13%? I believe so. So is Alzheimer's a sleeping disorder? Most importantly, what does this survey teach us about the cause of Alzheimer's? Is hypoxia the most significant factor in the buildup of beta amyloid? How is the autonomic system involved? Could other individuals suffer the same hypoxia without the habit of sleeping under their covers, but because their autonomic system drops their oxygen saturation levels too low while sleeping? And how is metabolism involved? Could the accumulation of beta amyloid be caused by anabolic metabolism? Now, having found that women more than men sleep under the covers by about 40% more, can we not infer that this might possibly be one of the factors why women more than men suffer Alzheimer's? So we need some very gifted researchers to follow this line of questioning and parse out this information, as I believe preventing the buildup of beta amyloid will be more successful than the millions being spent on researching the removal of beta amyloid after it has been created. So to close this section, here's my short, simple list on how to avoid Alzheimer's. Number 1, don't cover your head while sleeping. Number 2, use stimulants such as exercise to increase your metabolism. And 3, use exercise, diet, supplements and drugs that will reduce inflammation. So it's really up to you. Now, I did study whether there was any relationship between sleeping under the covers and Parkinson's disease, and I found no relationship. I did the same with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and found no relationship. I did the same with MS and found no relationship. However, I did find a relationship with learning disabilities, which leads us to our next section. So similarly, like with Alzheimer's, I completed a survey with about 400 submissions. I compared the level of covering while sleeping to differing levels of aid needed in school, from independent to needing some help to learning in a self-contained classroom as being the neediest. Results did show a progression. Considering those who indicated that they need help in one area, the data showed that about 13% could be attributed to sleeping under the covers. For those who indicated that they needed help in all areas, that percentage jumped to 22%. For those who were taught in a self-contained special education classroom, considered the neediest in terms of their learning, this percentage jumped to 34%. So this progression has to be seen as significant. Shouldn't we consider that hypoxia due to rebreathing is either the cause of these learning disabilities, or at least is responsible for making educational performance worse? Because when you consider the relationship between memory and sleep, how could it not be considered? Should children be encouraged to stop this practice of sleeping with their heads under the covers? Absolutely. Now, is there a link between learning disabilities and Alzheimer's? Depending on which study you use or the age group being considered, people with learning disabilities are 3 to 5 times more likely to develop dementia. Why? There long has been considered a link between learning disabilities and dementia. Is hypoxia due to rebreathing by sleeping under the covers that link? So again, more research is needed when we consider that the solution seems so simple and so cost-free. Anyhow, this leads me to the next section, which may be the most significant. So hang with me for a few more minutes. Now this section, the last for this short video, concerns one group I'm particularly concerned about who sleep under the covers and who potentially experience hypoxia due to rebreathing. And these are the women who are expecting. Is it possible that women who are pregnant and who sleep with their heads and breathing under the covers cause their fetuses to experience hypoxia as well? Now, I've not tested this, so this would be important research for any brilliant researcher who wants to further her career or his career. Are learning disabilities caused by this practice of the mother? And since so much of the fetus is developing during pregnancy, does this open up the possibility for a wider range of outcomes, such as autism, epilepsy, sexuality, Tourette's, cerebral palsy, and so on? Can even some organs other than the brain also be affected, including the autonomic, metabolic, or immune functions? Okay, I'm overreaching here, admittedly. I don't have the answers, but I sincerely believe this would be very important research. Now, as I have established that a high ratio of those suffering learning disabilities sleep under the covers, can we assume that they were permitted to practice this sleeping behavior because their mothers practice this behavior as well? I'm just saying. There's one other case where rebreathing is considered, and that is when infants have their breathing compromised by breathing face down into bedding or into a soft toy that restricts the flow of oxygen. Now, this is well researched and resulted in the Back to Sleep, Safe to Sleep, or positioning programs. I'll cover this in the next video. If you feel anything in this video is important, please share or hit the subscribe button or like button. I believe you'll be helping others. Thanks for listening. Take care and get out from underneath the covers.